Alright everybody, welcome back. This is the part 2, the final part to Chiraq versus police brutality. And the subheading is thesis plus antithesis equals synthesis. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the different points of view, explore the problem, and try to enact solutions. Whoever pays attention to this, especially if you're in a position of power, I hope you're listening. But anyway, again, welcome to my channel. I'm your host, Parrish Pittman L. I'm a Moor, Chicago bound, born and raised, South Side origin, Midwest baby. I hope y'all watching the Star Wars movie. And best believe, I have a review for that too. You might not like it. But in any case, it's a raining day. Raining like crap. And so I'm staying. I'm not going to be training nobody at the gym. I mean, it's the holidays. So I'm just going to chill out a little bit, catch up on some rest, and do this video. So let's get started. Alright, there is a part 1 to this video. Please check that out. I apologize for the poor lighting, but I'm using my cell phone until I put my production team together. So as I put the team together, the quality will get better, etc., etc. So trying to get used to being in front of a camera always. Oh, by the way, like the Puma hat. I also got another channel that I'm going to be building up called Style Precinct, and it's going to talk about fashion and my personal fashion, and I love Puma, so repping Puma right here. And as you can see, Marvel, the Avengers. But anyway, to get to it, there's always 3 sides to a story: the opposing views, and then there's the truth. So we're going to deal with the opposing views, and then we're going to deal with the truth. I wonder where can I put this. So, let's see. Okay. All right. So, opposing views and the truth. Thesis plus antithesis equals synthesis. So, let's start with the black community view. Uh-oh. Hold on. Okay. Damn. Hold on. Gotta figure something out here. Now I understand what other cats be going through when they be trying to make these videos. Just bear with me right quick, folks. Alright. Stay. Alright. What is the black community view in regard to law enforcement and police brutality? Well, let's just say this. It's a partial view that has some validity to it. Unfortunately, the amount of validity that the black community had in regard to police brutality and unfair legal representation in law enforcement has slipped. And the reason why it has slipped is because of your behavior. You either lead credibility or you take away credibility on the actions that's done to you by what you do, particularly by what you do to yourself. So, let's just say the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, particularly 30s, 40s, 50s. Black people, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the black community had the moral high ground. The moral high ground. Meaning upstanding citizens, citizens that produced the society, citizens that was trying to find their way into society, citizens that was law-abiding citizens. Key words, law-abiding. I mean, sure you had crime and criminals, but the majority of the community was a productive, law-abiding community despite the environment in those eras. It was more unity, more togetherness. It was like, hey, we can't trust nobody outside of us, so we need to stick together. We need to band tight, hold tight. That's how the mentality was underneath the surface back in those eras. Now, as we transition from the 50s into the 60s, into the 70s, it starts to take a hit, but it's still present and it's still impactful. But the environment outside is starting to change. The external environment outside is starting to change. Now there's more idiotic behavior. There's more nonsense going on, and black-on-black crime is beginning to start spiking. But yet and still, we still maintain a solid portion of the moral compass. And the moral compass is important because when you have the moral compass, that means that people on the outside looking in can see what's happening to you, observe everything about you, observe you in reaction to how you're dealing with situations presented to you, and then aid and assist you or condemn you. But if you have the moral high ground, human beings are not so much disconnected from each other that they won't aid and assist somebody that's in need. So other communities, other racial groups, other nationalities are looking at you and they can give you aid and assistance because they either feel sympathy or empathy. So now what's happening is that's all but dried up. That well is all but gone. Even though from the 30s, 40s, 50s, going into the 60s, 70s, and 80s, you started having black cops. You know, black people want to be cops and they go into the academy, they become officers and they police the streets and cities and centers where there's large black populations. In some ways that was looked at as a victory. Well, okay, that's a victory. But remember, this universe, one of the rules of the universe is duality. So black cops becoming police officers was looked at as a step forward by some. Others would say that now they got us policing us. Not to mention the characteristics or the behavior of the cops. Some black cops, I guess to fit in, would act just as violent and reactionary as the white cop. Or in some cases worse. Then you had some that was okay. They worked within the bounds of the protocols and the rules of their duty. So it's never anything set. It's always mix, match, mix, match, mix, match. Black community never had a good history with law enforcement. Never. Laws were created. Black people followed laws. Those laws was used against them. Those laws was used as weapons against them. We on your turf. We in your home court. We try to play by your rules. These are your rules. You invented these rules. So we play by your rules. We follow your rules. We don't reap as much as the benefit, but we catch a lot of backlash. Again, we don't reap as much of the benefit of playing your game, but we catch all the backlash. And that was 30s, 40s, 50s. Even going into the 60s, 70s, 80s, same thing. But it dropped off to a certain degree. Still present, not as vicious, but still present. You got more black cops, more black detectives, but the situation is not really getting better. Maybe a sliver of getting better, but overall the situation is still in a bad state, still in a very, very bad state. So it doesn't matter that now that you have black men and women that are now police officers, because some of them, not all of them, behave just as bad as the people that many black people perceive to be against them, which is white people. Not all cops are bad and not all cops are good. And that goes for the black ones, that goes for the white ones, that goes for any cops. All of them are not bad, all of them are not good. But yet and still, based upon human nature, you're judged as a group. No matter what the behavior is, you're judged as a group. So since you're judged as a group, police officers, black community, you're also judged as a group. Needless to say, yes, there's a lot of distrust between the black community and law enforcement. And again, a lot of it is valid. Not all of it, but a lot of it is valid. Because again, we had a true sense of community, a semblance of unity, brotherhood, sisterhood, bonding. Remember that? Remember that saying in the 70s, it take a village to raise a family? Remember that? Now that's all but completely annihilated now. Totally annihilated now. Doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. But we had the moral high ground. And at one point, black people used to represent the moral compass of this nation. We was the moral compass of this nation. Not no more, because morality has been tainted, completely contaminated. It's twisted and it's perverted. So now, fast forward to current times, there's a lack of accountability, there's a lack of responsibility, there's a lack of ownership in the black community. And this is becoming a pandemic. And it has its roots going all the way back through the prior decades. But now it's bursting forth at a tremendous pace. And with that comes not only just the black on black crime and violence, but the fact that now, because of technology in the era that we're in, which is the age of Aquarius, where technology goes through the roof and there's no more secrets, no more shadows, the light is shined on everything. So now, foolishness can be viewed all across the world, where at one point the nonsense was just contained to where it was at. And yes, things spread by word of mouth, but only go so far. Now, when somebody does something stupid or idiotic, everybody's filming with their camera phones and they're uploading it on the internet, and the whole world sees it. So the position of the black community in regards to law enforcement is one of a victim. No power, helpless, just being picked on, abuse, etc., etc. Some of that is true. Some of that is true. Not all of it. Some of that is true. So now, on the side of law enforcement, first and foremost, you have to consider that each officer, male or female, are human beings. Two, you have to consider that they have families that they go home to, or they have families that they are connected to. Three, the job that they do is very dangerous. Me personally, I never had no whims about being a cop. Not even remotely close. And there was a time in the hood that anybody that wanted to be a cop or a detective, well, it was two things. Either A, are you out of your fucking mind, or B, you want to get the inside scoop to help whatever faction, vice lords, GDs, foes, whatever faction you belong to, you just wanted to get a foot in to help them, if you want to be honest. But nobody wanted to be a cop. Or should I say, it wasn't a popular view, I should say. Everybody wants to be something. But these people in law enforcement are human beings. They take on very dangerous jobs, and they're trained in basic law, and they are there to enforce the law. When you look at a police officer or a cop in a game of chess, they would be pawns. They will simply be the pawns, because everything starts on high and it trickles down. And when we come to legislative or legal or law, they are the ones that enforce it. They enforce it, and they distribute retribution. They're the first level. So in a game of chess, cops will be pawns. With that being said, they have a right to uphold the law, not as they see fit. Situation ethics don't apply to this. You simply have to uphold the law. If the law is being broken, especially to an extreme degree, then it's your duty to enforce law, but not at the expense of yourself or the person that's breaking the law. Even you as a cop, you as an officer, you still have an obligation to protect even those who's breaking the law. Because the law hovers over everybody's head. Law-abiding citizen and the person who breaks the law. And just because a person breaks the law, you still have an obligation because they're still protected under these laws, even though they're breaking them. And there is a proper place for retribution and punishment. But you don't do that. That's when it goes to the judicial system. You're just enforcers and you just maintain the law. You do not have the right to crush human beings. You do not have the right to take human life unless situation calls for it. Now we're talking about situation ethics. Because in situation ethics, the ethics simply apply to the situation. So in some cases, when life versus life, the equation means that the winner is standing and the loser isn't. Situation ethics. But if situation ethics is not called for, then you as an officer of the law, there doesn't need to be an extreme recourse to your actions. Obey the law, enforce the law. Don't be judge, jury, and executioner on the spot. This is not Judge Dredd. This is real life. Lock that person up and let them go through due process. Let the judicial system handle them. Whether flawed or not, let the judicial system handle them, and you're going about your way. Because you're just an enforcer. You're not supposed to distribute punishment. You're not supposed to give out retribution. That's what you're not supposed to do. And in some of these cases involving a lot of shootings, a lot of deaths in regards to black men, black women, hell, even white people. There was a story that I came across about in Skokie where a white woman was beat and killed in the cell, in a holdup in a Skokie police station. And there's been other incidents too where white person, white woman getting roughed up, same as we do. But the focus is mostly on black people, and black people are part of that because black people complain and scream and moan the loudest. Again, a lot of these incidents are not what they seem to be, and the people are approaching these incidents, particularly black people are approaching these incidents in a biased manner. They already automatically assume that the cop in question, or the officers in question, was guilty, that the black person in question was automatically innocent. Nobody knows the facts, and nobody got hold of any information to come to any type of logical conclusion, not an emotional conclusion, but a logical conclusion, given what was presented. Everybody just assumed automatically, black victim, good person, cop, bad person. That defies reason, logic, and common sense. It doesn't work that way. And in many of these cases, the black person who's the so-called victim was out of line, either behavior-wise, in the form of disorderly conduct, souped up on drugs, or they was doing something stupid at the wrong time and the wrong place for them, but at the right time and at the right place for the cops. My only issue in regards to the behavior of the person or the said victim versus the behavior of the officers on the scene is that in many cases, the actions taking place by the officers are extreme. And sometimes the actions of these officers in some cases regarding the deaths of these people was over the top. Completely over the top. But to balance that out, in some cases, it was just what was needed. Again, I'm not looking at this from a perspective of a victim, because I'm not a victim. I'm looking at this from a perspective of common sense, logic, reason, and observation. Every black person that was a victim at the hands of the cops were not truly a victim. Many were, don't get me wrong, many were because, again, excessive force was used when it shouldn't have been. But in some cases, that wasn't the case. In some cases, these victims, particularly black males, they was on some bogus shit already. They was out bogus. Completely bogus. You can't be breaking into cars, you can't be running around robbing people, you can't be running around stabbing people, you can't be running around high and don't think that there's no consequences for this. Also, black community, stop acting like cops is killing black people at a fantastic rate. You ever heard of something called black on black crime? Do you know that in Chicago, from the 90s era, if you're 30 and older, that means that you grew up in that era. You came from that era. If you're still here, you was meant to be here. Because the 90s was worse than what's going on now. Let's break it down to some simple truth. Black people, nobody kills you more than you. Let's just be honest. You can be mad, you can be emotional, I don't care. Your emotions don't matter. We'll sweep that to the side and let's just deal with facts and reasoning. Nobody kills you more than you. Nobody has killed you more than you. And unless there's something done about it, nobody will kill you more than you. I find it ironic that there's an outcry about police brutality, but when there's a murder in the black community, the wall of silence comes up. So now the people that's supposed to do their job, that you're supposedly afraid of, the cops, but now when you need the cops because it's convenient for you, wall of silence come up. You can't contradict yourself like that because it makes you look bad. Because human nature, we're judged as a group. Not just as individuals, but we're judged as a group. That's just how human beings function. Many of these mothers, since the black community is like 90% single parent household, many of these mothers, they know they got children that's gangbangers. Some of these gangbangers is paying your bills, paying your rent. It's not a problem until they get killed by the cop. If they don't get killed by a cop and they get killed by another gangbanger, just another day in the park for you. Yeah, you're going to go to the funeral. You're going to, oh, my baby was this, my baby was that. There's going to be lies told at the funeral because there's always lies told at the funeral because people choose to cover up the faults and the flaws of the person that's been passed. In many cases. Some cases that ain't the case. But you a boo-hoo over Tyrone and Pookie getting killed by GDs, but quickly forgotten. A cop killed Tyrone and Pookie. Now you want to rise up in righteous indignation. You see the problem with that? Don't you see that there's a problem with that? The fact that black on black crime and violence is higher than any other ethnic group in America, that defeats and deflates the air out of anything that you try to promote or you try to push. You can't walk around and say, oh, you can't say Black Lives Matter when in the black community in Chicago on the south side and the west side, the pace of black killing black is unprecedented. Cops have just now started with an increase, keyword increase, start laying you down in the streets. But the pace that the cops lay you down in the streets don't come close to the pace that you lay each other down with in the streets. So this is becoming a simple fact of the matter of clean up your backyard first, and then you can point the cannons at the cops. Now, with all that being said, what can be done about all this? The solution and the problems create balance. There's not a problem that don't have a solution. I think first and foremost, the problem has to be acknowledged. That the black community is dysfunctional as hell. That's first and foremost. You can't work on a problem if you don't think one exists. And black people, you know that the problem exists. You're just stubborn and you're just in denial. And like I said, you have this victim mentality. You're just playing victim. Start to solve the problem before you even start to point the finger at the cops. How do you do that? Well, I can't get into all the solutions because this will be a 2-hour video. Not going there. So I'll just give a few. Restructure the black family. Definitely restructure the black family. Mother, father, children. Grandmother. But the grandmother, 60 years old and older. Because that means that she has wisdom from another generation, another era. Grandmother, 50 and younger, she's probably just as stupid as you. There are exceptions to the rule, but I wanted to say that she's probably as stupid as you. I mean, who hasn't seen, and I've heard many cases of mother, grandmother, and daughters all out partying in the club. Hell, my ex was in her 40s, and she was in the club with her daughters. And that came back to haunt her. Really did. So, restructure the black family. Father, mother, children, extended family, grandmother, grandfather. But not no grandmother that's 30, not no grandmother that's 40, not no grandmother that's 50. Grandmother, 60, come from a different era because she's a remnant of true values. Also, women, make better choices in the guys that you choose to have kids with. Stop trying to have children by the thug. Stop trying to have children because the guy's cute and you figure you have pretty babies. Stop trying to trap dudes with kids. Condoms. Hold off on that. Try to position yourself in a better position that financially a child won't be too much of a burden. Because children are expensive. And if you have more than one, men, you get a piece of this too. You got to do basically the same thing she do. Get yourself together. Be strong in spirit, mind, and body and soul. Create a business for yourself. Learn finances. Be in good shape. And in some cases, if you do this, she'll follow. Because you're the leader. So if you're doing this, she will follow. You strengthen each other. And if you strengthen each other, the children you have will be fantastic. Just imagine you're in school, she in school, or you're working, she in school, or she's working, you're in school, or you're both working and in school, and you're taking good care of yourselves. You come together And at the time of conception, when you decide to have your first kid, you come together, and let's say she's going to school for economics. Let's say you're going to school for IT. You both are of sound mind and body. You come together, have a baby, that baby would be a titan. Because it's conceived at the point in time where your brains and your bodies are most active. And when you're fulfilling your potential. So that baby is going to be a product of that potential that's being fulfilled. All it needs is just structure and guidance. Another thing, black women, you got to get off of welfare. Stop using it as a crutch. There's no reason why your grandmother should have passed that down to your mother, passed that down to you. The food stamps, the Section 8, subsidized housing, get rid of it. It's a false reality. And it's because of that reality right there that it shot holes in any potential that was rising up in the black community. Because it leads to nothing but dysfunctionalism. You're dependent upon the government. So what happens when what the government gives, the government taketh away? What do you do then? What do? You never went to school. You didn't try to keep yourself in good health, good shape. So you're not of sound mind, sound body. What do? You're going to throw yourself at the highest bidder, which means that whichever man that you believe has the most money or doing well, you're going to attach yourself to him. But instead of being an asset, you're going to be a liability. And then if you got children, that increases the factor of you being a liability instead of you being an asset. You need to become an asset first. Just like the man has to become an asset first. You bring two assets together, you create an empire. But you got to reprogram your dysfunctionalism. Being dependent upon the government, having an attitude that's not in touch with reality, and bad decision making based on a faulty reality is not going to help you. Matter of fact, that's the exact reason why we're in this mess now. There needs to be a strict behavioral modification in the black community. Strict behavioral modification. Because how many black people perceive life inside of various parts of the black community scattered across America is so extreme, it doesn't make any sense. But if you really want to get a good idea, all you got to go to YouTube, TMZ, Media Takeout, HotGhettoMess.com, and you'll get a pretty good idea of what's prevalent in the black community. And if you're honest, none of it is good. So behavioral modification, learning how to be civil, family values, family education, community education, all needs a revamping and a reformatting. As far as law enforcement is concerned, well, unfortunately that goes back to the black community because you elect the judges, you elect the aldermen, you elect the councilmen, and these are people who has a hand in creating, shaping, and structuring the law, which trickles down to you out here on the streets. Either find a way to put people in the office that you can trust, and that's tricky. That's Russian roulette, to be honest with you. Or come up with a system of your own. And even that's tricky because in this country, like they say in the Matrix, all the exits are closed and all the escape routes are blocked. So in the event that you do come up with your own system, you might have a good run at it for so long, they'll come and crush it. But you got to figure out a way. You got to figure out something because what's happening now is not working. You marching saying Black Lives Matter is not working. Nobody is taking you seriously. For the white people that do take you seriously, it's sympathy. Because when it looked at from the eyes of just being common sense, it's foolhardy. The view from other ethnic groups is that you're a sinking ship. Hell, that's the view within our own community. Many people are saying that the black community is a train wreck. So, if you're going to play the game, learn how to play the game the right way. And you can't get mad at councilmen and aldermen and representatives if they lie to you to get your vote, but then they don't follow through with what they're saying. You know why? Because the people that vote come secondary to the people who got the money. And that's part of the game that you need to learn. Yeah, you can use your voting power, but if you greasing palms, that might have a different outcome. Last but not least, the higher courts, the president, Congress, yeah, they can enact programs, community programs, town hall meetings, etc., etc. I don't think no real change is going to take place. All that is going to do is just emphasize more of what the problem is. And in a certain way, that's good. There need to be emphasis on the problem because a lot of black people, in particular, a lot of people in general, are just in denial. But solutions need to come forth. I got one. I think cops undergo this. If so, it needs to be more of it. Psych evaluation. And based upon psych evaluation, they need behavioral modification. And they need humanity training. Not race training. Fuck race training. Humanity training. Because there's only one race. Humanity. And it has different factions. But we're still human before anything. So no, we'll take out the term race training and say humanity training. Because that might be a black person that you shot down in the streets, but that was a human being that you murdered. These gangbangers running around here, yeah, they're vice lords or GDs or stones, but they're human beings. And in many cases, young human beings. There needs to be a serious behavioral modification taking place. Hell, I'm even for medication. I always say that the black community is underdiagnosed when it comes to mental illness. And the white community is overdiagnosed when it comes to mental illness. But apparently, mental illness is playing a role. Look what's happening. You gave the city the name Chiraq. Well, that came from the younger generation. Iraq, a war zone with military troops equipment. Chicago, urban city, America. Hit me up in the comments section. I'm open for more ideas on how to counterbalance this nonsense. Like I said, I got way more ideas. Way more. But that'll be a documentary. This is just a YouTube video. So on that note, I'm out. Peace. And remember, perception is dangerous. And your perception is key to your reality. Peace.